just from the perspective of somebody who's been tracking these talks, you've been here with Adopt a Negotiator now you've seen quite a few of these sessions. The kind of language that we saw from Bolivia this morning, it was quite fiery, very very blunt and quite confrontational in the sense that they felt that the new paper presented by the chair was unfair, fundamentally didn't represent its position. Is this something that we should be very worried about, or is it rhetoric? Is it part of the negotiations, or are they, are we starting to see things slip, and is the tone of the talks degenerating again into the kind of mess that we saw in Copenhagen? So how do we interpret this kind of rhetoric, in this process?
I just would like to say, but you can't see you can't look at, but just next to us there is the G77 coordination meeting, and they are going to speak about their next position. I would like to be a small mouse in the room to know what they are going to say. I don't remember the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you were distracted by all these G77 delegates.
It's a bit distracting today. Yes, you spoke about Bolivia and what they said this morning at the press conference. I think it's everybody here is a bit like an actor in a movie, and everybody has a role to take and to keep this role in the negotiation. And I think we need all of these different parties to find a balanced agreement in the end. We have the USA, we have Saudi Arabia, we have Canada, we have Australia, kind of bad countries, if I could use this expression, not like bad, but countries that don't help the process. We have kind of leaders in this negotiation. We can a small leader like EU, a big leader like Norway, and we also have this country really motivated and really strong in their position, like Bolivia, like Ecuador, who wants to move forward and quickly the process of negotiation. And I think we need this all these different strengths in the process to balance it. And I think it's really important to have that. And the new position of Bolivia, it's really it's interesting. I don't think it really helps the process of negotiation, but I think it's interesting because it adds new ideas in the negotiations, and also thanks to the big conference, the conference of Mother Earth from the people in Cochabamba, we could also have new ideas that we didn't have until now, and this country has added new ideas, new proposals in the process, and I think it's interesting because some of the negotiators here are negotiating since I've been negotiating for 20 years or 30 years. I think they're probably a bit old in their brains and in their minds, and they probably need new ideas. And this Cochabamba conference helps to bring these new ideas, and I think it's really important to renovate this conference. And the role of Bolivia is not really clear in the process, but I think it helps.
Is there a risk, though, in that pushing forward these incredibly ambitious and many people would say necessary ideas in order to deal with climate change, that actually Bolivia risks stalling these talks at a time where the entire process is very vulnerable to criticism for the lack of progress that it's making, and that you could see the UNFCCC collapse as the venue for these discussions, and perhaps they will. Perhaps the issue will be resolved or not, as the case may be, in less democratic locations, and at least to this venue, Bolivia and other smaller countries have a say, and ostensibly have an equal say on the floor. Is there a risk that if countries continue to stick to their positions and we don't see proper negotiation, that this process could fall apart?
I think there's a position that Bolivia has in the negotiation, and all the speech they give in plenary or in info contact group are really strong. But when they have to vote and when they have to agree on a text, they sometimes agree on something that can be a bit different compared to a position they have just before. Not really different, but they try to. There is this sense of compromise that all of the parties try to have in the process, and I think it's really important. But I think the the biggest fear we can have now on these negotiations, it's not because of the UNFCCC. It's because of all the new forums that exist around the UNFCCC. We can speak, for example, of IMF, not the IMF, the MEF, the Major Economic Forum, the G20, the G8, and all this forum that weaken the role of UNFCCC, and probably some countries feel a bit ignored, I think, in the process of negotiation. For example, if you're an African country, you can't go to the MEF because you're a small economy. You can't go to the G20 because you're also a small economy. You can't go to the G8, and sometimes you can feel totally ignored in the process, and it can drive to the position of these countries can be more and more stronger and stronger, and I think it can't help the spirit of compromise that we need here. And I think the parties have to keep this in mind, because I think if we carry on doing that, we are probably going to collapse a day, because of some countries will totally refuse to come here and to negotiate because they will understand that they are not heard here and the decisions are taken, for example, in G20 or G8.
Just before I hand back to the studio in London, I guess it's difficult for NGOs to know how to react to these multiple forums as well, because on the one hand they want to make sure that climate change is given as much prominence as possible in these important decision-making bodies, or these important international fora, and on the other hand, as you say, the prospect of them weakening the UNFCCC is also a danger. My last question to you then, I guess, is when you're writing your final blog from this this set of talks, and you can go to adoptanegotiator.org in order to see that blog. What's it going to say? Is it going to say, we've made progress here, or is it a problem, or how are you going to sum this up in 600 words?
I think I'm going to write it's better than in Copenhagen. But it's not good enough. It's better, but not good enough. I think we can go further, faster, and better. I think mostly better, because what we have seen this morning during the session was really incredible. And it's my 7th session of negotiation now, and what I can see here is just incredible.
Okay, well, better but not good enough, I think, is probably a sentence which sums up the feeling of most civil society representatives here. Florent, thanks very much for joining us, and maybe we'll catch up with you later, or possibly in August, and let's hope we're not having the same discussion then. I'll hand back to the studio in London. Thank you.